Hello everybody, it's Holly from Besotted Orchids. Today we're going to have something a little different, something I don't do often enough. I normally just show you pretty blooms, like, ooh, so beautiful. But Emmanuel, thank you very much, a subscriber, he has asked me to give a little bit more of a care video, how I get them from point A to B. A being seedling, which you know I'm not the best at, to B being a blooming orchid. So we will be doing that today. And I did want to share something about, it just struck me this morning, the beauty of the small moment. Oh, I have to share this with you. I have my coffee ready. My second cup. That's pertinent because my first cup of coffee today was standing beside all my blooming orchids with the sun streaming in the window at me, like just full force streaming in at me. Listening to piano music. A lady named Barbara was singing Voila. And the mist was rising on the neighbor way down across the way, was rising off of his pond. And I just stood there entranced in the most magical moment. First cup of coffee, mist, music, and the sun, and my orchids. And I'll tell you, it was absolutely spot on where you teared up. You're just like, this is a moment. So I did want to share that with you today. That was the moment I had today. So it's honestly, we all wait for the large moments, you know, oh, the wedding, the whatever, the great new job we want, the new car. That is what we need to live for, the little moments in our life. Those wonderful, big things are wonderful, but they don't fill up every day. Every day, I really hope you find a way, and I speak about this often, but just find a moment that is just, I mean, if you live in a city, head to a local park. I know if I ever ended up living in a big city, I'd be going to a local park every day. That's where you'd find me. But for me, it's nature. Possibly it's not nature for you. The little moments are what make a life successful. The big moments are great, but they are just one moment. All these little tiny moments add up to a life. Now I'm done. I'm done talking about that. But you can see the rainbow. I do have a prism that hangs in the window over there, and I actually dusted it yesterday, so the rainbows are back. You have to dust every now and then. I am preparing for a visit, a 5-day visit. My husband's daughter and her family are coming. I've never met her. So it'll be nice to have them here in the home. So I'm busy cleaning, planning meals, things like that. Now, Emmanuel. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Some people say Emmanuel. Emmanuel sounds beautiful. So I hope that's the way you pronounce your name. I grew up with an Emmanuel. He was an Amishman, and they called him Manny, or we called him Moni, which was funny because I'm off track again. But we hung out with him, Rumspringa, the Amish Rumspringa. They don't have to behave; they can do whatever they want. And so our bunch of kids from my family, we have 7, the older kids and other children of the teen years, we were all running around with these Amish, and that's when the song Moni Moni came out. So to this day, I cannot hear the song Moni Moni without thinking of that Amish guy Emmanuel. Who knows where he is? So, it's enough. It's enough, Holly. Stop. Now, okay, let's get this out of the way. We don't need to sing this yet. These are my nemesis, Emmanuel. These are my nemesis. These are seedlings. Well, they're not quite seedlings. They're a little above. Because sometimes when I order my orchids from Carmela, they come with some certain number of, in a special. Sometimes you will get a bonus of some seedlings. That's not for me. So I did ask Sheldon if he could possibly bump the size up a little bit. And he did. So that's a good size plant for me to carry on with. So when I get them in, they are in tiny little pots. They are going to fall around. The best thing I have found to do is to put them into one container. You can corral them a little better if you need to move them to a more sunny location, if you need to take them to water. You're not picking up 5, 6, a dozen, however many you have of the smaller orchids. They're all in a box, which is really, really handy. And then when I go to water them, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Drag it over. I literally have this tote, and I just go in, dip it a couple little times. This is important. Let it drain. If I would set that in there immediately with all of the water still in it, it's going to pool in there, and I have four orchids at the moment in there. Now, if it pools, if you're in a warm location, it's probably not going to be a problem. We're dipping into nights here in Ohio where my furnace, gasp, oh my goodness, the furnace is kicking on. I went out this morning to feed the chickens, and I went in my flip-flops. There's frost on the grass. So you don't want orchids sitting in water when the temperatures are dipping. You really don't. Like, I wanted to water last night, and sometimes I do have this cup. Sometimes I just pour it down over the top, being careful not to get it down into the growth points. You don't want it down there. It can rot out the next leaf coming along. But I think they're doing well. You see some new growth coming on there. This is BLC Toshi Akoi Pizzazz. So they're doing okay. And that's what I do. I just go around. I just put them down in there just briefly. It doesn't need to be in there for 10, 20 minutes. Now, if you have an orchid that you have allowed to dry out, you've neglected. I've never done that. Come on, I've never neglected orchids. Never. Okay, you would leave it soak a little longer just to really hydrate. And there you go. That's what I do with my seedlings. Now, you're probably wondering what I'm fertilizing them with. And then I would just take this and put it back where it was. And the east-facing window. Where I am, the east-facing window is really, really good. I guess east is east and west is west wherever you are. It's north and south that the lighting changes. So, I just use Better Grow. I picked this up on Amazon. This is a growth one. They also have one that is a bloom booster. And I don't have it in the room, but I would go get it. I'm not going to go get it. I do have some granules I've started adding that are the slow release granules, and those are a bloom booster. So I think I'm okay on that because I do have a lot of them coming into bloom, so I think they're doing well. Also, I do want to talk about this magical bottle. Now, coffee cup. Speaking of the magical elixir, I do want another sip of coffee. I'm losing my voice this week. Okay. Too much hollering and carrying on down the river. This is Cal Mag. Cali Magic. You will hear some people refer to it as that. I think Nature Now calls it Cali Magic. But they emphasize the Cal and the Mag in the large letters, so I just shorten it to that. It has calcium and magnesium. Now, my orchids were not doing well due to my neglect. I'm going to be completely honest here. They weren't doing well at all. So when I started really thinking, what can I do? Because I don't want to lose my collection. I have a lot of time and money invested in this. And if they're gone, I feel like at that point, if they were gone a considerable amount, I would just let them go. I would be so perturbed with myself, I'd let them go. And I didn't want that to happen. So I did remember that when I first started doing orchids, I bought CalMag. Again, Amazon. And I don't think it was horribly expensive. Maybe under $15 for this bottle. I'm not sure. But it does last a very long time. Now, to a pot like this, watch, I spill this on myself. This is about 1.5 gallons of water I put in here. It's very easy for me to carry around. If I want to take this into the living room to water in the grow space, it's easy to get over there. If I want to bring it in, because I'm filling it at the kitchen sink, which is directly behind this wall, but I have to go around to get back over here. I set it on a towel on my table. It's that simple. You do want to be careful if you're in a home watering. You don't want water stains and spots on your good furniture. So do set a towel down. Now, I add a tablespoon of this to about 1.5 gallons. And when I say a tablespoon, I've already added it or I'd add it again. It's just a glug. I'm sorry. I am not, I would love to be, I am not, I will never be that person who measures everything out. Now, if you are, you're a step ahead of the game. You're good. Follow all the instructions on here. And it says to water, everybody says water weekly. I don't, this says a teaspoon of Orchid plus to 1 gallon of water. That is pretty much what I do. Maybe a little bit less. I don't weaken it. I just don't. And I think they're doing okay. So we have lots of blooms to look at, lots of spikes to look at. So we have covered how I'm caring for my seedlings. And they will want some of that's higher in the nitrogen to get the growth really going. They all need nitrogen to get them going. So you have your seedlings. They're doing well. They're in an east-facing window. They're under grow lights. They're however you feel they're going to work the best for you. I wouldn't necessarily give seedlings a south-facing light here. It's very, very strong. I'm in the northern hemisphere. So my southern windows are extremely strong. In fact, these windows here, I've really tweaked it and researched it. I've studied it. They are southeastern facing. So the house is tilted a little bit to the south. So they are getting a really bright light right now. They're just really getting shown down on very well. But I wouldn't go due south with them. Now, when you have orchids that are, let me see what my next step would be. Well, I'm going to show you this one. This is a Pathia pedalum that I believe I purchased this either from Triton Orchids or it was up at the Akron. I went to an orchid show up in Akron with my twin. That was such a fun day. So anyhow, this is budding. I want to make sure you can see that little bud. I'm going to pull in the wrong direction for you to see. There is a bud forming, believe me, down in there. And it's starting to swell a little bit, which is wonderful. Now, when I'm watering something, I mean, this has a definite apex. There's definitely a top leaf in here, and you have that bud in there. You do not want water to get down in your new bud. You don't want that to happen. It's a sure way to rot that off. So I just take it into the pot of water, take it to the level. Don't go above level with it. And then if you need to, if you're being extra cautious like I am right now, I just use my little, it's a laundry cup, and I just moisten the top of the bark. I don't want any, I'm very careful, I don't want any water. I've waited a long time to see this orchid. I'm not saying what it is, I'm not sure. I think it's a bulldog orchid. I don't think it's Lady Isabel. I thought that's what it was, but I'm not certain. So that's how I water this. It's that simple. You do not want water coming down in here. There's nowhere for it to go. If you were to get water down in there, just try to tip it and blow in it, and it can kind of maybe move the water out. You just don't, especially when there's a bud down there or a new leaf, you don't want water sitting in there. So that is budding. This one is a twinkle. This did come from Sheldon. This is not one of mine that I've got to come on. But they do, I find that when an orchid is blooming, it does like a lot more water. So literally, again, just set it down in there. And they have moss. This is actually the perfect level. They do have moss in here, so the bark's not going to come up out like that one would have if it had been a little deeper water. And again, hear the dripping? Get rid of the extra. You don't want that extra sitting in there. Now, one that I might not be too worried about that, like the Zygopetalums, if they have a really great root structure going, coming out, Zygos like a lot of water. But this is Kisaki Twinkle Obi. And this did come from my last Sheldon order. 2 nice spikes on it. And that's all I'm doing. Every single orchid I'm watering today will be treated with the same water. I don't have time for divas. Just no time in my life for divas. So, once again, these 2 items I do use on a regular basis. And like I said, I did start using this again in the last at least 2 months. It's getting pretty empty. I have to order it again. I don't think I would ever be without this again. Because after they came through their hardship time of me neglecting them, I did add this back in because I was desperate for something. And I really, truly believe that this was a big help in that. So, put that to the side. Now, what do you do if you were to find a mealybug? It's very simple care here in my house. And there are mealybugs. What they love to do, my hair's in my... What I love to do, or the mealybugs love to do, is get on a brand new bloom. They love nothing more than sitting at the end of a new bloom and starting to chew the stem, which will, it's going to take your bloom out. You don't want that to happen. So I do go around and kind of with a finger try to just work them off if they're an adult mealybug. If you've got quite a little nest that they like to go down in the leaves, then I do spray alcohol. This is isopropyl alcohol at a 50%. I just picked this up at the dollar store. It's like $1.25 or something for this whole bottle. I put it in a spray bottle. And if you just see a mealybug, you just... oh, that's pretty hard. My husband was using this bottle for something. He had Windex in it. They steal my bottles and they have Windex in it. But it has been deeply cleaned. I would never spray Windex on or near. That's another thing. A lot of your orchids are probably sitting on a windowsill if you grow indoors. Move them away if you're going to be cleaning your windows with a Windex. I don't have that in the house. We try to go chemical free in here. So I do use vinegar on a cloth to clean mine. But for vehicles and whatnot, he uses the Windex. So a spray bottle and a nice, see that's 2. I'm going to have to really tighten it up. You want it to spray out in more of a nice spray. And that's not going to hurt your blooms. It's not going to hurt your blooms. But this is fun. I mean, this is heading into a beautiful plant size. I've had this, so I can make an orchid grow for years. I have had this about 3-4 years. And look at that. It's the most beautiful color. I did hope that it was the Yaya, like the one I just gave my friend. Because I'd like to have 2 of the same. Each of us have one. But surely there's one in my collection. I have a lot of dendrobiums starting to spike. So when they're spiking, the same care. When they're blooming, just get them down in there and watch. This one is bark on the top. So if you would go too deep with it, the bark does want to pop up off and float into the water. And again, very important to have a drain hole in your pot. Drain holes are important. And tip it a little bit, make it go side to side a little bit. And when you hear it, you'll know when it's slowing down. You don't have to sit here until every single drop of water is out of the pot. I use Maxwell House coffee lids. Why not? And the reason I started doing that, I have terracotta pots. And they're on my nice furniture. Some of my orchids are displayed on my nice oak furniture that I really love. I would never slide a terracotta pot base along that. But these coffee lids, they can slide all over. They're not going to scratch anything. So you did get a sneak peek at one of my orchids that is blooming, my own bloom. So many to come. So many to come. Now, aftercare. Sadly, my Copper Queen is going over. And for myself, I might just let it hang out another day, but I'm filming. So, one of my birthday gifts from my daughter. nice little pair of snippers. And if you want to be extra careful, I mean, these are my collection. I don't always worry about it unless there's an orchid leaf that looks iffy. You can spray this down. Give it a good cleaning. These are spring-loaded. I'm really, really well pleased with these. I'm forcing myself to keep them in the house for the orchids. Not letting them go outside. They're not going outside. But the care of this when it's done, you literally, there's no reason. Text message. Okay. Oh my goodness. It was ready to fall off. The minute I took the stick off, this fell. So when they start looking a little papery, get rid of them. And there was nothing for me to snip now, sadly. Got these all ready to go. But there you are. This one, I just give it. There's nothing that needs cleaned up on this. I give it a good water. Watering myself as well. Let it drip. I can't stress that enough. Get rid of the majority of that water, especially in a pot like this, because this is a glazed pot, inside and out. It's more of a decorative pot, so it's not going to breathe. Your water's not going to evaporate out through it, so you don't want to have a lot of that pooling in there. And you put it back in, and then you move it back to the grow space wherever. It's not going to be in this room anymore, where my spiking ones, the ones I'm really tending to and watching and enjoying. I like to enjoy the whole process. I like to enjoy watching the buds develop, all that, as well as the blooms. So when they start budding, they do come into the room that I'm in more often. I don't spend a whole lot of time in the living room. I just don't. But yeah, now this will come out of the decorative pot. It will go back on a coffee lid tray, and it will go back in the window, the east-facing windows. Now, I will put up a video. My husband did purchase me, for my birthday, some grow lights. So I'm really excited about that. And I keep them on. It's a north-facing window, so I keep them on most of the day. I need to set a timer. I have one here. I just need to set a timer up so they go on and off. I don't have to worry about turning them on or off during the day. So that's what you do with that. I'm trying to see if there's anything I could show you for cleanup. Okay, with this one here, obviously you want to remove anything like this. And you can, when these paper sheets get a little looser, able to come off, very delicate. You want to be delicate about this. Don't force them to come off if it's way too, if they're on very tight. Don't force them. But I do like to peel them away for one reason. That is a wonderful haven for mealybugs. The less areas you have for those little boogers to hide, the better. So, and of course I've broken my tag, so I'm going to have to hand write a new tag and put it in here. It just snaps. But that's what I will do with this. This will go right back into a window, and it will continue with the fertilization, everything I normally do. Some people cut way back on it in the winter, but I don't really notice my orchids stopping the growth in the winter so much. I don't see it. I don't see the stopping. So if they were stopping and stagnant and no growth, then you wouldn't want to give them so much because they don't really need it. Now here is another beautiful orchid I've had several years from Carmela. The majority of these do come from Carmela. And I'll tell you why. I mean, there's nothing on them. But I did want to order a Neophanetia yesterday, and I thought, well, the weather is a little iffy, coming from Illinois. I don't know if I want to attempt the Neophanetia. I wanted a Neophanetia and a Taffy Kiss. Is it purple? Miltassia? Miltonia? So, Miltassia. So I emptied my basket, especially when I saw it was $24 for shipping. I mean, that's the next 2 states over. $24 to ship You know, that's a lot of orchids I could get from Sheldon, $24 to one of his orders. And I always wait for the deals that don't have shipping. But anyhow, this is one from him that is getting ready to bloom that I've had probably 2 years now on Oncidium type. And of course, the tag's missing. Don't act surprised. Don't act like you don't know how I live around here. So here, once again, there's a little speck because this is an Oncidium and it's in terracotta. And in fact, all of my orchids now that are in terracotta, they do get a little whisper of sphagnum. That's also helping me keep them alive while I'm out trotting the river. We did 9 miles of river cleanup. 150 tires came out of the Mohican River and the Wahoning, Kokosing, that whole stretch. 150 tires that weekend. That is absurd. Anyhow, they're gone. But look at this. Beautiful. This will be opening any day. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's very, and you also want to watch for this, Emmanuel. You want to watch for good, healthy, there's that leaves right in the way. Good, healthy pseudobulbs. Of course, you're going to see it better from the back where I was looking at it. That pseudobulb is healthy and plump. It's just beautiful. Also, when you have them out, if you have the time, I like to get a thinner cloth. You don't want a big, bulky, really heavy cloth. And you can just go along and remove some dust. I put half of it on one side and half on the other, and I come up through the leaf. Gets any dust, any little debris, and that actually does help with photosynthesis. Did I say that correctly with my teeth? There we go. There's some words I'm not meant to say. I was not made to say. And they typically have S's in them. So, that's how I clean these. Now, you wouldn't want to try to clean your entire collection in one day, or you're going to become despondent. You can't spend an entire day cleaning your leaves. But as you do this watering in the home, I do have to handle them all one by one. I do. I'm not spraying water all over my house. So as I pick them up, if I see dirty, dusty leaves, I do go ahead, usually most times, and try to clean a few. And you'll be surprised how you can move along. Say you even do 10 orchids a week. If you have 100 orchids, it doesn't take you very long to get every single thing cleaned. So we've covered what I am feeding them with, how I'm treating for mealybugs, the watering, the lighting. Now this is another one that is spiking. This one did come from Carmela. I didn't see a spike at the time. Oh my goodness, I've taken the spike. This has Lawrence, I'm going to say Lawrence's, Ludimonium alba. I believe that's what this one is. So we are going to get a bloom pretty soon. I have to go find it. That tag is actually sitting here somewhere because I was sitting here last night researching what it was going to look like. It's going to be white with a kind of a pinkish purple lip. So for this, the same thing. You just water it down in there, let it drain. I wasn't spraying any water. I wasn't pouring any water down in this leaf cavity. You don't want to do that. Beautiful. I'm really looking forward to seeing this bloom. Like I said, we're coming into a winter where I'm going to have a lot of beautiful, beautiful orchids to get me through the winter time. I have one more here I set out to show you. This is my crown jewel of the orchids. And there is a mealybug. There's a mealybug. Let me get you up here and show you this. That is a mealy. That is a mealybug. And not to be a violent, aggressive person on YouTube, but he's gone. It's that simple. Sorry. There are some old spikes on here, so I can snip just for the beauty of it. It's not necessary, but this is going to be blooming here in the next week or two, and I do want it to be looking absolutely beautiful. That was the only old spike on here. The others have already been cut down. I suppose you want to know what this is. Excuse me, I am losing my voice. You see that nice spike right there? This is Cattleya Renee Marquet Tyler. And another new growth coming beside it. Is that another mealy? That's not good. That's not good. So honestly, this is your best bet. If I found 2 mealybugs on here, and I'm going to try to get in the crevices as well. 2 mealybugs means there's a few more in there I'm not seeing. So I just briefly, it took that long, that quick, to go ahead and give it a quick spray. This will evaporate off. And then I'm just going to use my cup. You can hear it crackling. It needed some water. It is very satisfying for me to hear the bark kind of giving that little crackle where it's like, oh, I'm sucking up that water as fast as I can get it. So there you go. And this has been staked because it's going to have beautiful blooms on it. You don't have to keep your orchids staked. When they're done blooming, as long as they're not top heavy, leaning one way or the other, you can remove the stake. There you go. Cattleya Renee Marquet Tyler. The most beautiful pink, green, yellow. Pink, yellow. I believe those are the only colors on there. It's going to be absolutely stunning in about a week or so. A week, maybe a week. So there we go. The fertilizing, the watering, the removing of old spikes. Let me see this one here. Yeah, when your flowers are spent, you can take them off. Now here is something. I can remove the old growth spikes on the Dendrobium phalaenopsis. You don't necessarily want to take your regular phalaenopsis from the store down to nothing. If you cut right above a node, oftentimes it will come back out with a secondary spike. So you can decide if you wanted to do that or not. Some people do not do that. But another thing about the Dendrobium phalaenopsis, they will rebloom off of the same growth. They will rebloom several times. So if it's done blooming and you're like, well, like this one here. You see this is all wonky, but it's really hard. It doesn't want to push up, so I'm not making it. Sometimes if you're too forceful with these, they will snap, and we don't want that to happen. So I just watch how I put it on get it out of the other orchid's way. But it is a magnificent orchid at this point. You don't remove all the old growths on this because it will rebloom. This one has bloomed previously, and it has 2 new spikes on the one cane. Now, this is something interesting. Whoa, it's stuck on something. Not sure if I can get that. You see that little white thing right in there? That's a root. I have a keiki that's spiking and blooming. I have a keiki. It formed no leaves, but it is forming roots. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. But yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spikes on this so far. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a nice hit with some alcohol, just as a preventative. And there you go. Beautiful, beautiful orchids. I want to stress, this is how I grow them in my home environment. I don't have a conservatory. I don't have a greenhouse. I don't have anything like that. So every single one of my orchids has to be handled every week. every 5 days or so, they do have to be handled. It is time consuming, but then you can forget about them. And as you're handling them, you can go around and say, oh, does a leaf, lost my washcloth, does a leaf need to be wiped down? Do I see a little bit of a bug? things like that. And that's really all you do. That's all I do, at least. I'm sure other people have different methods depending on how you're growing them, but this is how I do it, Emmanuel. This is it. It's very low key. Like I said, with ADHD, I am not rocking, sitting down, doing measurements. I'm not doing that. It's not happening. So yeah, for me to enjoy my orchids, this is how I care for them. And you're just never going to catch me weighing and measuring and doing the grams and doing TDS. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be real with you. I don't do that. So would they perhaps do a lot better if I was right on the money with all of my nutrients? Maybe. Maybe they would do a lot better. So there you go. A little bit of orchid care, a little bit of the information on what I am using to care for them. It is pretty straightforward. You really have three things here. You know, this costs $1. And I do use a lot of it. I do use a lot of it. If there's anything that looks iffy with the mealybug, I do spray it. CalMag, I really, really recommend the CalMag. I was trying to get these back off the ground with just regular orchid food. Wasn't working. It wasn't more than a week or two where I started using the CalMag that I saw a big, big difference. I'm noticing I have bags under my eyes. I've been sleeping like a dream lately. I'm sleeping too much. So, anyhow, there you go. A little bit of orchid care that I don't do enough of, but I kind of look at it like, oh my gosh, there's so many people out there going in depth and doing it, but I do need to now and then show you what I am doing on my channel. So, that's really how I do it. It's very laid back, very easy, very blasé. I'm blasé about a lot of things. So there you go. I'm not high tech. If you want someone who's high tech, there are other videos you can watch where they do the TDS. I just don't do that. Another thing I will add, I do have a spring-fed home, which the majority of people out there don't have. I don't have a well. I don't have city water. I don't have anything added to my water. This is strictly a spring. We have a spring house down in the basement where the water comes in, we pump it up. These orchids are being fed with spring water. You know, I've had this tested to make sure it was healthy. You know, wasn't any contaminants in it, but I haven't had it tested to where I break it down and see what kind of minerals or whatever would be in there. So that also is going to play a part in my orchids being a little bit different, that they do have a very pure, what I consider a very pure water source. If you are watering with city water, I would say at least prepare your water the evening before and let it sit to get the some of the bleach to come up out of there. I've heard that can help. But that being said, years ago I did live in a town where did they treat the water? Yeah, they treated the water with everything but fluoride. So that was not in that water there. This water doesn't have it either. And I grew not orchids at that time, but I was a huge fan of the African violets. And they were okay. I never knew at that time to set the water out and let it breathe overnight. So I didn't do that. But I had a wonderful African violet collection. I actually got a job that way, believe it or not. I needed a job briefly when my child was born, and it was unbelievable because I'd never left one of my children, but my husband was laid off at the time, so I'm like, well, I've got to go find something to do. So I stopped in at the local flower shop. They had a sign up looking for a manager. I rolled in. They said, well, can you make me a flower arrangement? And thank God, I know how to do flower arranging just from fiddling around at home. So I made a rather nice flower arrangement, and the woman came back to tell me that I had a meeting with the boss. And she came to my home, and I wasn't home, but she could see through the window that I had so many beautiful blooming African violets. She went back and told him, she's the person for the job. So you never know. You never know what you're displaying to the world might lead to something. I mean, I had my orchids out there for the whole world. I mean, my African violets out there for the whole world to see. That helped me get that job. Unbeknownst to me at the time. Unbeknownst to me. But yeah, that was a nice job because I could take my son with me to work. They said, bring your son with you. So that was perfect. I ran the whole flower shop. It was on the job training. So that was fun. But I spend most of my time here nowadays. So I do some library talks where I do explain things to people. Sourdough, gardening, crafts, things like that. So I've digressed. So there you go. Don't be afraid to put your blooming plants in the window so people can see them. You never know, it might help you out. So thank you so much for watching. Emmanuel, again, thank you for the request. If anybody else has any more requests about things they want to see in particular, a certain orchid, if I still have it in the collection, I will be more than happy to share it with you. But we do have a lot of, I'm looking at spikes everywhere over there. We have so many spikes coming up. In fact, I have to check the time. I may do a spike video today. Show you what all is coming up in the future. So, before I totally lose my voice, I need to wish you all a good day. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for taking a few moments to watch my channel. I hope you've gleaned some information that would help you with your own collection. That being said, please take care of yourselves. Please like, share, subscribe, and above all, enjoy those orchids. Thank you so much for watching.